and gentlemen, the day is finally here. Finally here. Welcome to episode 1 of the VinDawg Pod, baby. Come on, let's little round of applause for myself. Now, this is something I've wanted to do for a long time. In fact, disclaimer, I actually recorded an episode of this podcast, but Colorado decided to join the Big 10 earlier, or the Big 12, sorry. Colorado joined the Big 12 earlier yesterday. Today it was announced. So I had to change my video because, I'm talking about the Pac-12 and stuff and the UW and everything. So that's a pretty significant thing to happen. And to just drop an episode without including that, probably not the right thing to do. So today, I'm going to introduce the pod. I'm going to get you guys caught up to everything that's going to be happening here. And then we'll go a little bit into that. But first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the VinDawg Pod. I am your host, Vinny Speziale, and I'm very excited to be joining you today. Let me get my papers in check. You know how it is. You know how it is out here. So, Vinny Speziale, I'm 22 years old. I just graduated from the University of Washington with a degree in journalism, public interest communication, baby. Come on now, we're doing God's work out here. I went to Ballard High School, spent 4 years there. I was on Associated Student Body all 4 years. Well, 3.5 technically, but I won't get into that. That's a story for later. I really kind of fell in love with sports during that time, especially since I kind of ran my student section, if you will. We call it the Ballard Beaver Brigade, the Triple B, baby, Triple B. And one of the funniest things about it was Big Baller Brand and LeVar Ball and Lonzo Ball. They had just become a really big thing because LeVar loved to talk smack on the internet. And so because of that, we used LeVar Ball's face as, I guess, our, like our mascot, if you will. LeVar Ball was our mascot, which was kind of cool. I mean, that's like a fun mascot to have. So that was our thing, the Triple B, Ballard Beaver Brigade, Big Baller Brand, whatever. Doesn't matter. Fell in love with sports through that, just kind of being a part of that whole thing, that whole association. That was really fun. Made me realize that that's the kind of stuff I wanted to do. I spent 2 years writing for the Daily at the University of Washington. I wrote for all sports, but my main beat was softball. Shout out the UW softball team. Shout out head coach Heather Tarr for being the GOAT. So after 2 years of that, I knew that sports journalism was what I wanted to get into, and I always wanted to do this podcast. I always wanted to kind of make things happen, but I never really got around to it. Now I can finally get around to it. Very excited. UW football, man, that's been my thing now for 6 years. I went to every home game for UW football that we were able to go to. Obviously COVID happened, so wasn't able to go to those games. But you know what? Things happen. Whatever. Made it to every one I could go to. Very happy about that. I served an apprenticeship at Barstool Sports. I ran the Twitter and Instagram Barstool Huskies. That was fun. One of the best parts about it is you just get to talk smack with other fans. You get to talk crap about Oregon. Get to talk crap about Wazoo. I went to the Oregon game, went to the Wazoo game. Those were two incredible experiences. And just kind of being in that environment, knowing that I ran that account really helped me improve my smack talk. So that was a beautiful thing. The engagement that I had with UW fans made me realize that this is why I want to do this UW podcast because, come on now. Like, that's just funny to get. I'm going to primarily be covering UW sports with this podcast. This podcast will come out every Friday. But at the same time, I'm also going to be doing things on the side. I'll be doing things with NFL, MLB, NBA occasionally. We'll see how that goes. I'm not really as logistically sound with the NBA as I am with other leagues. Sorry about that. That's just, where my headspace goes. But we'll figure it out. I'm not worried. That's something that we'll figure out very easily. So for this podcast, every Friday, the VinDawg Pod, I'll be dropping every Friday a new episode. This podcast is going to primarily cover 8 teams at UW. For the men's, we're covering football, basketball, baseball, and soccer. Our football team won 11-2 last year. Finished number 8 nationally after an abysmal 4-8 season under Jimmy Lake. Baseball team went 16-16. We made it to regionals, and then we blew a 7-run lead against Oral Roberts University. That was bad. We won't talk about that. We got eliminated in regionals. The winner of that was Oral Roberts, and Oral Roberts went on to beat Oregon in Super Regionals. That would have been sick if we could beat Oregon in Super Regionals, but whatever. We couldn't get to it. Doesn't matter. Wow, I messed that up. I meant basketball. Basketball went 16-16. Baseball, who I was just talking about, they went 35-20. But basketball, that's another thing to talk about right now. Our basketball team was not the most entertaining sport to watch last year. And I'm talking about men's basketball because the women were killing it. But men's basketball, Mike Hopkins had the offense of comparable to what the Cleveland Browns were when they went 0-16 and drafted Johnny Manziel. It just wasn't very exciting to watch. You know, you knew you had a stud in Keon Brooks, but nothing really happened. It was like the same thing over and over again. Just ISO basketball, nothing really came of it. I mean, gritty on defense. I mean, you love to see that, but what does it matter when you're scoring 50-something points to Wazoo? Anyway, doesn't matter. Soccer went 15-2-3. They lost 3-1 to Creighton in the NCAA tournament. Very upsetting, especially since they were the number 2 seed. But they're looking on the bigger and better things for next year. So those are the men's sports we'll be talking about. Women's sports, we're going to be getting into softball, women's basketball, volleyball, and women's soccer. Now, the softball team, I'm going to be biased about softball all year long. That's probably all I'm going to be talking about. They went 44-15. They finished 5th in the Women's College World Series, which I got to go to, by the way. Oklahoma Press, baby. Shout out OKC. There's a lot of changes happening to the softball team, so that'll be fun to really digest with you guys. Basketball, 19-15. Lost to Kansas in the Fab Four. It was the most wins that the women's basketball team has had since 2016. I mean, it was a very, very good year. We beat Stanford. That was electric, by the way, beating Stanford. Nobody really saw that one coming. I think we saw it coming in our heart. We knew what this team was capable of. Come on, UW. Those are them Lady Dogs doing their thing. Volleyball went 20-11. They lost to TCU in the NCAA championships. They're losing 6 big-time seniors, so that's going to be a tough thing to overcome for them. But, you know, like I said, it's UW team filled with dogs. They'll get it figured out. Women's soccer went 10-6-3. They went undefeated non-conference, and they beat Wazoo on the road for the first time since 1996. So shout out the UW soccer ladies. That is what we're pretty much going to be doing all year long, covering the UW sports, especially on Friday. You know, I might be doing other things every other day, but you know, whatever. We'll get to that later. Now, let me get my bearings in order real quick here. I'm going to break down the podcast for you guys. So every Friday, new podcast. Be sure to follow me on TikTok at VinDawg Pod. If I make other social medias, I will at some point, but I'm too lazy to do that right now. We'll get everything up on there too. The TikToks will be fun. I'll put random clips on there. I might put this clip on it. Who knows? That's the mystery. You can watch my podcast and be like, oh, when is Vinny going to drop his next TikTok? Is this going to be a TikTok segment? Who knows? Maybe it will be. So I'm excited to see that. Other than those 8 sports I just mentioned, of course, I'll be covering other sports on the side. You know, like if something big happens or if there's something noteworthy to say. It's just that there can only be so much knowledge I can consume in my brain while also paying attention to professional sports going on. So, you know, I'm going to do my best, guys. I'm going to do my best, but hopefully we can make that work. In the fall, it's going to be heavily UW football focused. I know that soccer is going on. I'll be covering that, you know, less depth, of course. I'll be doing weekly reviews. That's why I really like doing this thing on Friday because, you know, heading right into Saturday football, I'll be able to just talk about that upcoming game. That's going to be a lot of fun. Sometimes on Mondays, I might drop a little something for the people. Whether that be me recapping the last game, if we lost in some depressing way or something. You know, just something. We'll figure that out, guys. We're going to figure that out. This is the first episode. So let's stop getting ahead of ourselves. We're going to figure that out. In the winter is going to be focused primarily on basketball and volleyball. You know, other sports, of course, covering with less depth, but those will be our 2 big ones. Really want to see how UW women pick up after that Fab Four appearance. Really want to see what Mike Hopkins can do. Now that he got those new transfers and, you know, he's actually staying with the team for some reason, you know, we'll figure that out. In the spring's going to be all about softball, baby. Come on now. I mean, you know, I love this softball team, so that's going to be the big one. Of course, baseball. Like I'm gonna cover baseball. People are gonna be like, Vinny, why are you covering softball, not baseball? I'll tell you why. Because the softball team's a bunch of dogs. Okay. No, yeah. We got a bunch of dogs on the baseball team. I'm not gonna say we don't. But that softball team though, bunch of dogs. So that's what we're gonna be doing. That's what we're gonna be doing for the most part. All right, you know what? Let's get some content going, right? Let's get right into it. I have a whole Pac-12 football review for you guys ready to go. Disclaimer: by the time I made these notes, I did not know Colorado and their 1-11 season last year were gonna pack their bags and go to the Big 12. I had no idea. I didn't see it coming. Now it puts UW in a big predicament. I don't know why UW would ever want to stay in the Pac-12 at this point. Pac-12 clearly bleeding, and no one's really doing anything about it. No one's trying to make the effort to fix things that are going on right now. So, you know what, UW, like, let's be selfish. All right, let's be selfish. It's already been reported our athletic department's losing money because we're still paying off Jimmy Lake. Let's just make that move to the Big Ten, baby. Let's take Oregon with us. Us and Oregon. Let's go to the Big Ten. We can create a rivalry with Wisconsin. UW versus UW. Tell me that wouldn't be electric. Huh? Winner gets the bragging rights to the name UW. Are you kidding me? Oh my God. I don't know how you would even differentiate the two when talking about them. I mean, everyone calls them both UW. You look up UW right now on the internet, and you're either going to find University of Washington or University of Wisconsin. It doesn't matter. It's going to be one of the two. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm very excited to see how that goes. As for this year, I only see 5 teams that are truly legitimate contenders in the Pac-12. Those 5 teams: USC, believe it or not, University of Washington, University of Oregon, University of Utah, and Oregon State University. People are like, Oregon State? That seems like an outlier. And I'll get into it. I'll tell you why. Oregon State's got a bunch of dogs. All right, especially that running offense. Their defense is still very good. Bunch of dogs. I'm very excited to see them play. Here's my prediction for UW's schedule this year. You know, week 1, they go right into Boise. They're going at home against Boise State. I thought that we're like a 15-point favorite. That is just, I like it. I like it. Part of me makes me kind of nervous to see that because it's like, what if they lay a goose egg? I don't see them laying a goose egg. I mean, this team is way too good to be laying goose eggs against Boise State University. Plus, Boise State's not going to know what to do on green turf. They're going to be confused. They're going to be confused why it's not blue. They're not going to know what to do. They're going to fumble the bag. I think UW picked up a big-time win against Boise State in week 1. Week 2, Tulsa. That's your W. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm very, very ignorant when it comes to Tulsa. I don't know what the heck Tulsa is capable of. All I know is we are smacking the boots off of Tulsa, baby. Come on now. Week 3, Michigan State. I don't know what people are talking about when they say Tuck is coming. Mel Tucker ain't going anywhere. Mel Tucker stinks. I mean, maybe he doesn't stink that much, but he sure stunk last year, man. They were number 11 when they played us at home, and they got embarrassed at Husky Stadium last year, and we're gonna embarrass them again this year because we're even better than we were last year, especially week 3 last year, whenever we played them. Michigan State, you can chalk that as a W. That's 3-0 right now. Then we go and start Pac-12 play against Cal. Now, you guys will hear what I think about Cal, but Cal is not very good. Cal is not very good. They played us tight last year in Cal, and you know we still overcame them. I think that's going to be a big time W for the Dogs, and that puts us at 4-0. Arizona, week 5. Now, Arizona is one of those teams that just stink. I think Delora stinks. I mean, he was a Coug, so of course he stinks, but I actually don't think he's all that good. I think he just talks smack, and that's all he really does. I think that's a big-time W against Arizona. Oregon. Now, here's the thing. We're about to be 5-0 going up against Oregon at Husky Stadium. Tell me right now, we're not about to embarrass them like we did in 2016. We put up a 70 burger on Oregon in 2016. I want to see us put up at least 50 on them this year. And I think we're capable of doing it. Dan Lanning just got extended through 2028. I don't know why Oregon decided to do that. Sure, I mean, just re-sign a guy that goes for it on 4th down and misses every single time. Sure, why not? Right? Like, what's the possible harm in that? I think we beat Oregon, and I'm very excited for that week. That'll be the biggest week of the game. If they don't do college game day at Washington for that game, they're tripping. They're tripping, man, because that's gonna be a game of the year. It was last year. I mean, that third quarter alone was probably quarter of the year, but you know, last year was a good game. This year it'll be a great game. I'm excited to see UW pick that one up. Then they go up against Arizona State. Now the good news is we don't play Arizona State on the road this year, which means we can actually beat Arizona State. I know. Shocker. Shocker, guys. I think that's an easy W. Stanford, same thing. I think Stanford's the worst team in the Pac-12 this year. I mean, they're just a mess. I think that's an easy win. I don't even need to talk about it. USC, that's the big one, guys. I think UW taking it personal that USC is going to the Big Ten. And if UW makes their play with Oregon to move into the Big Ten in sometime in the near future, that makes this game even bigger. Plus, I think UW is just very disrespected by the fact that not only does Caleb Williams win the Heisman Trophy, which deservedly so, but Michael Penix finished 8th. I mean, come on. That's just disrespectful. That's just disrespectful. And I don't really mess with it. I think Michael Penix Jr. doesn't mess with it. I think Rome Odunze doesn't mess with it. I think Jalen McMillan, Braylon Trice, I think all these dogs don't mess with that one bit. And they're going to go and they're going to take the smoke to USC and they're going to beat them, baby. And they're going to take that. They're going to take that 10th straight wins, I believe. 10th straight wins. They're going to be 10-0. And then they're going to go to Corvallis. And they're going to fight the mighty Beavers. I told y'all I was a Ballard Beaver Brigade guy. The Beavers just know how to win. I think the Beavers are going to beat us, and I think that's going to be our one loss of the year. I think we lose to Oregon State in Corvallis because their rushing game is so good, and we really have no idea what our rushing defense is going to look like. Their defense is great. I think that they're just going to run it all over us, control the clock, and they're going to win that game. So I'm going to chalk that up as a loss. And then, of course, we have the Apple Cup at home. I'll be surprised if we don't win by 70. Wazoo is going to be better than people think they'll be. They also have a very easy schedule, but not when they play UW. They're going to get smoked on. So we're going to be smoking that Cougar pack at the end of the season. I already know it. That's an 11-1 season for UW that I'm predicting with a Pac-12 berth. We'll see. We're either playing USC or Oregon State. Those are the two teams I think we'll be playing. But that's how I'm predicting that one to go. Recruiting wise, obviously USC is just leading the pack. They got 3 5-stars. Oregon got a 5-star. Oregon missed out on a linebacker to Georgia, which nobody saw coming. I saw it coming. Okay, why the hell would you want to play for Dan Lanning in Oregon when you can go and play in Georgia? And I saw some delusional Oregon fan send out a tweet and be like, you would have been a second stringer here. So would you rather start at Georgia or be a second stringer in Oregon? I would rather be the 10th stringer at Georgia than anything on Oregon, all right? And that might be biased, but it's not. I hate Oregon with all my heart, so screw you guys. I'm proud of that linebacker for making the right decision and going to Georgia. Good for him. Utah has 0 5-stars, but they got 8 4-stars, so they're doing very well with that. UW, same thing. 0 5-stars, 8 4-stars. That might have changed since I last made that note, but so don't quote me on that, but like I said, Utah and Washington, they're kind of neck and neck in the recruiting game. Colorado actually hasn't been recruiting as well as I thought they would be. They have a 5-star and 3 4-stars, but nothing else other than that, really. And then Wazoo. Wazoo just find 3 stars wherever they can, and they're like, bring them in. Bring them on in. Bring them on in. And I mean, Wazoo, just like it was for me, is going to be everyone's second choice. So it's like, if they don't get in the UW, you might as well go to Wazoo. If you look up uwrejects.com, it actually takes you to a page of Washington State University. So, yeah. And you can apply that to football, too. Their football program, not it. So, that's and by the way, Wazoo ranked 11th in recruiting. So, that really tells you where that program is going right now. I'm going to go ahead and predict the Pac-12 rankings right here, right now. This might sound biased, but at number 1, I have the University of Washington. And let me explain why. They're retaining their all-star talent. I think Penix is going to have a Heisman year. Odunze is going to prove that he's a top 15 draft pick and that he's top 2, maybe number 1 wide receiver in the country. I mean, obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr. is that guy, but, let's put some respect on Rome Odunze's name. I heard he ran a 4.33 40. I mean, come on. The dude is like a physical monster, and he's running a 4.33. That's just unstoppable. USC at number 2. I mean, they have the Heisman winner. Can't really sleep on him. They also have, not the worst schedule in the world, so they can definitely pick up big wins. But when they lose to UW, they're going to be number 2. That's just kind of how that goes. Number 3, I have Oregon State. The reason I have Oregon State at number 3 is because I think they have a top 2 defense in the conference. I mean, they lost their best tackler at linebacker, but they added a safety. They now have 2 of the best safeties in the conference, I think, if one of their guys comes back healthy. That defense is still pretty unstoppable. And then not to mention, I hear like a whistling noise. Sorry about that. Not to mention, I mean, they have Damian Martinez. He literally won Freshman Player of the Year last year. He's keeping 4 of his 5 offensive linemen. The dude just going to run behind the wall and go wherever he wants. So that's going to be pretty unstoppable for them. And we'll take Oregon State at number 3. Oregon at 4. I think Oregon will beat out Utah. I mean, they got Bo Nix. They have a very talented team. But like I said, they have Dan Lannon and his terrible fourth down decisions. I think that's going to cost them in a couple games this year. And sorry about it, but you know what? When you lose more than 2 games, that takes you out of the running for the Pac-12 championship. And I think that's what's going to happen to Oregon. I have Utah at 5 because Cam Rising's injury, I have no idea what to think about that. They have a really tough schedule. Like, they're playing Florida and Baylor in their non-conference, and they're going to lose one of those 2 games. Not to mention, they're also playing, like, all the top dogs in the conference. So, we'll see what happens. I'm excited to see what's going to happen, but who knows? And at number 6, I have Washington State University. I know I was talking smack. I was talking a lot of smack. But the thing about this team is not only do they have an incredibly easy schedule, but they always overachieve to what people expect. Everyone thinks they're going to be really freaking bad next year. And I think they're going to just do enough to impress them. I think they win 6-7 games, and that's all they really need. Like, a bowl appearance is big time for this team. At number 7, I have UCLA. I think, Chip Kelly is a great college coach, but they lost their quarterback, and who knows how Dante is going to come in and play as like a new guy. I think their defense is very weak. They have questions all around. I still think they're going to be capable of winning some games, but not enough to really get past Wazoo, I don't think. Number 8, I got Colorado. Screw them for going to the Big 10 or Big 12, sorry, but at the same time, it's like, all right, just because you add Deion Sanders, a bunch of random dudes, like, this isn't career mode. Like, you can't just add a bunch of talented players and expect some crazy things to happen. Like, that's just not how that works. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I'm the bearer of bad news here, but that's just not how that works. So I think that they're just going to have growing pains. I think that the guys they added are going to want to be superstars over teams, they're going to want to be superstars over being a team player. And I think that mentality is going to cost them a couple games. And no matter what Deion's mentality might be going into these games, nothing is going to stop that from being in the player's head. Like, they're all newcomers in the Colorado. Like, they're on a new team, whole new mentality. They're going to want to be the one to make the play. So I think that's just going to hold them back a little bit. They also don't have the easiest schedule in the world. So, yeah. Colorado at 8. Arizona at 9. Their defense sucks. Don't really know what else to say about that. Cal at 10. I have, their defense can, hold teams. They have a solid defense. But what is going on offensively? I would love for someone to tell me what's going on because I have no idea. They just don't know what the heck's going on. So I got Cal at 10. ASU at 11. They got a new coach. They're looking at a big rebuild. Hard to do much else. It's a really tough conference this year, even though it's dying. The conference is dying, yet I still think it's one of the more talented that there are. So, ASU at 11. I just don't see them winning many games. And then, of course, last but not least, but probably least, Stanford. I mean, just because you have a bunch of nerds doesn't mean you can win football games. Sorry to say it. You can have the greatest game plan of all time, but not know how to run the football, or not know how to throw it more than 15 yards, or know how to cover a wide receiver, or know how to tackle. I mean, there are just questions everywhere for Stanford, so I just don't really see them doing very well, so I have them going last in the conference. Get rid of that piece of paper. I'm doing things old school, baby. Screw technology. I like just reading it. I like reading paper. Makes me happy, All right, let's do some UW football roster analysis, baby. Come on now. So Washington is keeping a lot of its elite talent, and I think that's why not only are they going to make a college football playoff appearance, but they're going to win the Pac-12. Romo Dunze and Braylon Twice both won Walter Camp preseason All-American awards. Big time. They deservedly so. You're talking about a top 2 wide receiver in the nation and a top 2 defensive lineman in the nation. That doesn't come easy. So The fact that they're out there, they're balling, they're coming another year, they're about to do their thing. That's big time for the University of Washington. I also think that UW just simply has the best offense in college football. I think they had the best offense in college football last year, and all of a sudden, they're now returning better than ever. I saw a ranking that somehow put Cam Davis as the worst running back in the Pac-12, and I really hope Cam Davis saw that because that's going to fire him up. And I'll get into Cam Davis later, but he's going to be something special. Michael Penix Jr., let's talk about how phenomenal he was. Health is literally what it comes down to for him. If he stays healthy, if he plays every game, this team is winning no less than 11 games. And that's a guarantee. I almost guarantee that. Penix last year went 362 for 554. That's a 65.3% completion percentage. 4,641 yards, 31 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. That's a phenomenal year, and he finished 8th in Heisman voting. He's going to be disrespected, but I think now he knows this offense to heart. He knows this team to heart, and he's going to put up bigger numbers this year. And I'm very excited to see it. I think he's the best tight window passer in college football right now. I mean, just watch his throw against Oregon. Watch his throw against Texas on that flea flicker. Some of these throws he makes are unbelievable. Like, unbelievable. Like, an inch slower or not on target, and it's either a deflection or an interception. But he put these things on the money. His decision-making is a question. You know, if he can limit those red zone turnovers, he's going to be unstoppable next year, guys. He's going to be unstoppable. Some big X factors on offense that are going to make the difference here for UW. I mentioned him earlier, but Cameron Davis, man, he's got to be something special. I talked with Michelle Powell. Shout out Mish. I talked to him in an interview earlier this year, and I asked him who he thought those biggest strides on offense, who those guys were, and he said Cam Davis. He said Cam Davis is an animal. He said he's hungry. He said he's got that mentality to succeed and thrive, and that's what I like to hear. You know what I mean? So if Cam Davis can do his thing and go perform at a high level, there's nothing he can't achieve. Last year, he had 522 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns, 4.9 yards per carry. And that was him as the second feature back. So him as a starter, he's got the Mississippi State transfer to back him up. He's going to be something special. He's going to be incredible in the red zone. He's going to take a lot of stress off of Michael Penix Jr., especially given MPJ's like bad red zone decision making. Cam Davis should hopefully be a nice, smooth way to nullify that. The wide receivers are the next X factors. Rome Odunze and Jalen McMillan. We already know they're going to be special, but I'm expecting them to have the greatest season of all time as a duo. And I like that's just, like I don't say that lightly, right? Like these guys really can do it. Odunze last year, 75 receptions, 1,145 yards, 7 touchdowns. Jalen McMillan, 79 receptions, 1,098 yards, 9 touchdowns. Jalen McMillan is the best route runner in college football. Rome Odunze is maybe behind Marvin Harrison Jr., the most athletic freak of nature at wide receiver in college football. These two combined, I mean, what a defense is supposed to do, especially when Penix can fling that ball whenever he wants, bro. Like, I don't even know how to put it in words. It's going to be unstoppable. I'm very excited to be seeing that happen. Just him and J-Mac, if they don't combine for 2,400 yards and 25 touchdowns next year as a duo, I think they're both going to be very disappointed because they have sky-high expectations of themselves, probably higher expectations than the media and myself have. So I'm very excited to see them put that work in. On defense, it's really going to come down to those defensive linemen, Braylon Trice and VTF, baby. They combined for 66 tackles, 13.5 sacks, 17.5 tackles for loss last year. Braylon Trice was ranked like the number 1 or 2 defensive lineman in the nation by PFF. His PFF grade was like 90-something. Just unbelievable numbers. VTF had a down year, and that D-line was still dominant. So imagine if VTF plays as good as we know he can play. If Braylon Trice repeats the success that he had earlier, that takes a lot of pressure off the rest of the defense, especially the secondary, that this defense can go and make plays happen. I'm very excited. I do think that the secondary is going to be a question, naturally. But you know what? you got playmakers up there in the front seven. There's going to be a lot of improvement. That's what UW is all about. They're a what's the word? Improving. I don't know why I can't think of the word, but it's whatever you do where you make people better. Something like that. Improvement. I don't know. People know the word. It's just blanking off my head. Don't blame me. I clearly know it. The biggest X factor of them all on this UW team is Kalen DeBoer. Kalen the Balls, I like to call him when he makes those fourth down calls. I mean, goodness gracious. DeBoer is a winner, and I think he's a top 5 coach in college football. Right now, he's probably like top 15, but next year he'll show you guys that he's top 5. This guy's a winner. All he knows is winning. He has a 90-11 record as a head coach in college football. That's unbelievable. That's an 8.82 win percentage. And to put that in perspective, Urban Meyer was 8.54. Obviously, bigger sample for Urban Meyer. But if he keeps at that pace, he's going to be the most winningest coach in college football history. I mean, you can't expect him to keep at that pace and end up at 180 and 22 because that's just like jaw to the floor type numbers. But I still think he can produce those kind of stats on a regular basis every year. The thing about DeBoer is that when he takes over a program, he completely 180s it. He completely turns around everything about it. And we've seen this at all of his destinations. At Fresno State in 2019, they were 82nd in scoring defense in the FBS and 88th in total defense in the FBS. After DeBoer took over, Fresno State was 20th in scoring defense and 31st in total defense. Now, those are very, very good improvement numbers, especially given the fact that this is an offensive-minded head coach. So the fact that he is able to create that change on the defensive end just shows you the type of energy he brings into the locker room and the kind of motivation that he brings to an entire team, a defense, an offense, just a team as a whole. Before DeBoer took over in Washington in 2021, this is Washington under Jimmy Lake, my friend. UW was 108th in points per game at 21.5. They had a 4-8 record, and they were 91st in SRS at minus 4.65. For those that don't know, SRS is a simple rating system that combines point differential with strength of schedule, right? So SRS minus 4.65, not very good. After DeBoer took over Washington in 2022, 7th in the nation in points per game at 39.7. An 11-2 record, which was the 8th best record in the nation. 18th in SRS at 11.56. 18th in SRS is very good when you consider the fact that there were a lot of upsets that happened in college football. There were teams like TCU that had no expectations to win anything. 18th after 91 is phenomenal. DeBoer just knows how to come into a program and win, and that is what he's about to do next year. All the pressure is on DeBoer next year, more than there was last year, because now all of a sudden, we know DeBoer can turn around the team. Can DeBoer get over the hump with the team? Can DeBoer take this team to the college football playoff? Can DeBoer take this team to the national championship game? Can DeBoer win a natty? I think he can. All right, this is the most talented team he's ever had to play with. This might be the most talented team since 2016, and it's an even more talented offense. The reason 2016 was so good was because that defense was unstoppable. Unstoppable defense in 2016. A miles better offense compared to the defense this year. I mean, this is a top 3 offense we're talking about, maybe even the number 1 offense in the nation. Their defense could be the 20th best in the nation. And the offense will still carry them the victory. And I think the defense can be better than the 20th best. So, high praise, lots of expectations for Kalen DeBoer. A lot of people like to say that it was Penix that led to such a great improvement from, last year to this year. I mean, that might be true. But Kalen DeBoer is the one that brought Michael Penix Jr. into the University of Washington. Kalen DeBoer was Penix's offensive coordinator. He knew the talent that Penix had. Didn't matter his injury history. Kalen DeBoer took Penix in. Everybody thought it was going to be either Demo's team or they thought it was going to be Sam Heward's team. Nope, Michael Penix Jr. comes in. Everyone's confused. He shows you why he's the man. That's Kalen DeBoer is doing. Kalen DeBoer is that guy. His winning brand of football puts them right into that contention for the college football playoff, baby. To finish things off, I like to do a little betting segment. Now, of course, this is not gambling advice, nor do I make gambling bets myself. But if I was a betting man, let me tell you guys what I think are some of my favorite things. As far as Pac-12 championship odds go, last I checked from FanDuel, this was a week ago, so maybe they're updated, maybe they're not, who knows. USC is plus 200, Oregon is plus 310, UW is plus 310, Utah is plus 550, and Oregon State is plus 1100. If you're just looking to throw out $10 and just see what happens, Oregon State is the team to bet on, you guys. Oregon State is such a sleeper because they have the best rushing offense in the Pac-12 by far. And as long as they have the best rushing offense, they can always control the clock. And more times than not, if you can control the clock and your defense can get you the ball back, you're winning football games. And I think that's what this Oregon State team is capable of. Last year, they were 6th in the conference in points per game at 32.2. They were 4th in the conference in rushing yards per game at 196.5. They were tied for first in rushing touchdowns with 36. They were first in their fourth down conversion percentage. Certainly wasn't Oregon. Dan Lanning is bomb. Oregon State was first in opponent's point per game at 20. Third in opponent's passing yard per game at 224. First in opponent's rushing yard per game at 108.2. And first in opponent yard per game at 332.8. A star-studded defense, a fantastic offensive line behind a running back that is going to be a star in Damian Martinez. If you want a good value pick, Oregon State is that value pick. Let's get into the Heisman. Caleb Williams is plus 500 to win the Heisman. I believe Michael Penix Jr. and Bo Nix are both plus 1,600 to win the Heisman. I'm not a betting man, but Michael Penix Jr. is winning the Heisman Trophy this year. And especially at that value. I mean, come on now. He has the best receiving duo in the nation. You can say Ohio State all you want. I don't care. I am biased. It is Washington. Washington has the best wide receiver duo in college football. And they're going to use that duo, and they're going to smack on teams, dude. They're going to smack on teams. Oregon's defense sucks. That's an easy 500 passing yards for Penix. USC's defense is overrated. That's an easy 350. Oregon State might stump them for only 250, but that's fine. Boise State's going to get ran all over for 500 passing yards. I don't know why I said ran all over. That doesn't really make sense. Underrated O-line for UW is going to protect Penix so that he can make those plays. Michael Penix Jr. is winning the Heisman Trophy. No doubt about it in my mind. Lock that in. To end this segment today, I'm going to go ahead and go over what I think the best season win total picks are for the Pac-12. USC is at 9.5 wins. I think you take the over 9.5. It feels low. It feels low. Like, you already know USC is a 10-win team, unless Williams, gets shot on the field or some crazy stuff like that. USC is going to lose to UW, no doubt in my mind, but other than that, I really don't know who they might lose to. I mean, I guess they could lose to anyone, but there's only one game for sure I see them losing, and I don't see them losing more than a second after that. So, USC over 9.5 games. University of Washington is at 9 wins straight. You take that over all day long. They went 10-2 last year, and they shouldn't have lost to Arizona State. They were in the driver's seat to somehow come back and beat UCLA, which they had no business being in that game, but they still almost came back and did it. And that was a 10-win season for them. They're going to do better than that this year. They're keeping all their key core guys. They don't have the tough schedule. Their toughest games are going to be Oregon, Oregon State, Utah, and USC. Right? Those are 4 tough games. I see them winning at least 2 of the 4. Probably Oregon and someone else. I could see them winning 3 or 4. Very easily winning 3 or 4. I don't see another team that they could lose to this year. You're taking UW over 9 wins. Oregon State line is at 8 wins. I already told you how I feel about Oregon State. You got to hammer that over. Hammer it or as hard as you can, because 8 wins is way too low. They're going to maybe lose to Oregon. maybe lose to Utah, maybe lose to UW. Who else are they going to lose to? That's 9 wins right there. I think you take Oregon State over 8 wins. I'm taking Oregon under 9.5 wins. Oregon under 9.5. Because here's why. Oregon's going to lose to UW. They're going to lose to Oregon State because Oregon State has their necks right now. And they're going to lose to USC. I don't think Oregon's better than USC. I think USC is wiping the floor with Oregon. Bo Nix is great and all, but USC is better. That's a 9-win season right there. That's already the under. Not to mention, Oregon loves to just lose a random game here or there. So I say you take that Oregon under 9.5 all day long. Utah, man, if it weren't for their tough schedule, I would take the over. But at 8.5 wins, I think Utah goes under. Like I said, Cam Rising's a question mark. They're going to lose 1 of 2 to Florida or Baylor. They're going to lose to Oregon State. They're going to lose to USC. They're going to lose to UW. And they very well might lose to Oregon. 5 losses right there. Do I see them being a 7-5 loss team? No. Do I see them being 8-4? I do. I really do. Wazoo, over 6.5 win. I love it. I love that the line for Wazoo is 6.5 because they have a pretty easy schedule. I mean, Wazoo is going to beat Colorado State easily, beat Northern Colorado easily. They're going to beat Arizona. They're going to beat Arizona State. They're going to beat Stanford. They're going to beat Cal. And they have a good shot at beating Colorado. That's a 7-win, 8-win season for Wazoo that I think that they can just sneak on in behind everyone's back. They're not going to beat UW. Unless DeBoer gets suspended. But I don't think that's going to happen. UCLA, I have them going under 8.5. I don't know why UCLA's line is at 8.5. They're not that good this year. I think UCLA definitely loses 4 games. Utah, Oregon State, USC, those are for sure losses. I think they lose one somewhere in their schedule. I could picture UCLA losing to Colorado. You know, I could see Colorado just going and making a statement win against UCLA. They're like, oh yeah, you're going to the Big Ten? Well, we'll go into the Big 12. So screw you, UCLA. Get stomped on. Screw you, Chip Kelly. You were a bum with the 49ers. You were kind of a bum with the Eagles. You're a bum with UCLA. Not really. You're not really a bum. I'm just being a hater. I'm just being a biased hater. But still, I think Colorado can beat UCLA. I think you take UCLA under 8.5 wins. Arizona under 5.5. Because Arizona's not beating Mississippi State. They're not beating UW. They're not beating Wazoo. They're not beating Oregon State. They're not beating UCLA. I mean, maybe they beat UCLA, but I don't really see that happening. I don't even think they're beating Colorado. And they're certainly not beating Utah. So I would take that under all day long. ASU, under 5 wins. Same thing. They're just not a good team. They're going up against Oklahoma State, Fresno State, USC, UW, Wazoo, Utah, Oregon. I think ASU might have the hardest schedule I've ever seen in my life, actually. Not to mention they're just not a great team. I mean, maybe they could, if they were playing UW at home, they would probably beat us by 40, but they're not. They're not playing UW at home. They don't have that desert advantage against us. I think you take under 5 wins for ASU. Colorado's line is at 3 wins last I saw, and they're wiping the floor with 3 wins. You take that over. I mean, they're definitely beating Nebraska. I think Matt Rule is overrated. I think they beat Colorado State because Colorado State just sucks. I mean, say what you want. They're not a Pac-12 team, but God, they are awful. I have a good buddy from Colorado State, and I feel really bad for him. So I can see Colorado beating Colorado State. Arizona, I mean, like that. I think that's a coin toss. I think they can beat Arizona. I think they definitely beat either Arizona or Arizona State. They're going to take one of those 2 games, and they're going to beat Stanford because Stanford stinks. There you go. That's over 3 wins for you right there. Cal at the 4.5 wins. I think you take the under. I mean, I think Cal's going to beat North Texas. I think Cal's going to beat Stanford, and I think Cal's going to beat Idaho. But other than that, it's such a tough schedule for Cal, and without any offensive productivity, I just don't see them doing much. And then Stanford, 3.5 wins is their line. It's the under, and there's no question to it. I don't know what the heck Stanford's got going for them. It's not going to go their way. Stanford's not a good team. I'm sorry to say. That's my final segment, and that is it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 1 of the VinDawg Pod. Baby. You know, it's been fun. I'm excited to keep doing this with you guys on a weekly basis. Who knows how next week will go? I'm gonna, like I said, there's gonna be all sorts of clips about pro sports, about everything going on. But everything UW centric, that's right here, baby. That is right here. But that's all for today. That's all for this week. Thank you guys very much, and I look forward to talking to you guys soon. Have a great week, and go Dogs.